All right, we're going to focus on dividing whole numbers in this video. First thing we're going to talk about is what does division actually mean. Division is, let me get this to right, guys. Hold on 1 second. Division is simply the process of finding out how many groups of one number it takes to make another number. And let me give you an example. For instance, this is 12 divided by 3. All that means is how many groups of 3 will it take to can you make from 12? So suppose you got 12 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So all you're trying to do is figure out how many groups of 3 you can make. Like suppose you got 12 people in PE and you gotta have teams of 3. So here you can have 1 group of 3, 2 groups of 3, 3 groups of 3, 4 groups of 3. So how many times can you split 12 into 3s? That would be a total of 4. Now you could get it from skip counting too. You could skip count by 3s to find out. So if you skip count by 3s, you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, you had to skip count a total of 4 times to get to 12, from 3 to 12, okay? Or you could simply use the multiplication chart. So if you're trying to figure out 12 divided by 3, well, all you do is you go to your 3 and you find 12. Well, that matches 4, okay? So 12 divided by 3 is 4. Or you could go to your 3s here and find 12, and that goes with 4. So it doesn't matter what side of the table you start on. You can start on the top gray area or the side gray area. But you just have to remember, if you're dividing by 3, to go to your 3 either on this side or at the top, okay? And find 12. It's just working backwards from multiplication, all right? All right, so let's take a look at the division algorithm, like how do you divide? So what you do is you want to start with setting up a division problem. And this goes in the house and this goes outside. This is called our dividend, what you're dividing into. And this is called our divisor, what you're dividing by. But I just say in before you go out. I can't tell you to get out of the house unless you're in the house. I can't tell you to get out of the room unless you're in the room. So I always in first and out second, okay? In and then out. All right, so what I will do is I know I have to divide this number by 4. In other words, I'm trying to figure out how many groups of 4 I can get out of 1,380. And you're not going to skip count from 4 to 1,380. That's too time consuming and it's not practical, okay? So what I am going to do is I'm going to skip count by 4 a few times. But you can also use your multiplication chart. You can see if you skip count by 4, you get 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm just going to label these over here on the side. Just label a few of those, okay? All right, so the first thing you'll do is you'll say, how many groups of 4 can I get out of 1? So you'll just go here with your division algorithm. You're going to divide first. How many groups of 4 can I get out of 1? Well, if I only have one person, can I make a group of 4 if you think of these as people? Well, if you only got one person, you can't make a group of 4. So that would be 0 there. Okay? So what you would do is subtract the 0. If you write a 0, you subtract a 0. But you subtract it from the 1 because you only had one person. It's 4 into 1. All right, so after you subtract, you're going to bring down the next number. Okay? All right, then you just kind of like start over. So now instead of having 1, now you have 13. So if you have You're going to start over at 4. How many groups of 4 can you get out of 13? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Well, how many groups of 4 can you get? 1, 2, and then 3. But you can also go over here and see that the closest I can get to 13 without going over would be this 12. That's down 1, 2, 3 units. Okay? So the closest you can get to 12 and 13 without going over is 3. In other words, you can only get 3 full groups of 4 out of 13. So you put your 3 there. But this number you circle 12, because 3 full groups of 4 is 12. That's the number you're going to subtract. 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. After you subtract, you always bring down. And then you just kind of start over. Now you're looking at how many groups of 4 you can get out of 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And get a group of 4 here, a group of 4 here, a group of 4 here, a group of 4 here. That's 4 groups. Okay? Or you could just go look here and say, well, look over here. How close can I get to 18 without going over? Well, that would be 16. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 full groups. So that 4 goes here. And the number you circle is what you subtract. Okay? You subtract 4 full groups of 4 is 16. So you subtract that number, 16. 8 minus 6 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. And after you subtract, you bring down again. So after you subtract, you always bring down, and then you just kind of repeat the process to start over. Now, how many groups of 4 can I get out of 20? Well, the closest I can get to 20 without going over is exactly 20. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. So 5 goes there, and I subtract the last number I circled, which was 20. Now I have a remainder of 0. So I can stop. Anytime you have a remainder of 0 with nothing left to bring down, or as a decimal, it starts repeating, then you're done. All right, so now let's try number 2, in and out. And what I'll do is I'm going to go up and look at my 7s and write a few of those. Look at my 7s and write a few of those, okay? On the side. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, and so forth. So I'm going to start out with always 7, whatever, into the first number. I don't know if it could be a 7 or 2 or whatever number's out there. How many groups of 7 can you get out of 6? We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can I make a group of 7? Nope. So I put a 0. And anytime you put a 0, you subtract 0. After you subtract, you bring down, and then you just kind of start over from there. How many groups of 7 can I get on 68? Well, this is only at 42. So I'm going to have to keep going. Okay. 42, 49, 56. After 56 is 63. And then 70. All right, so I can see the closest I can get to 68 without going over is here. So that's down. That's how many 7s? How many groups of 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 groups of 7. So I'll put the 9 here. And 9 groups of 7 is 63. The number I circle is the number I subtract. I'm going to subtract 63. 8 minus 3 is 5, and 6 minus 6 is 0. After you subtract, you're going to bring down, and then you just start over and figure out how many groups of 56 you could get, how many groups of 7 you can get out of 56. So I'm going to go over here and see how close I can get to 56 without going over. Where there is exactly 56. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 groups. So 8 goes above that 6, and 8 groups of 56 is 56. That number you circle is what you subtract, guys. You get a remainder of 0. So you have nothing left to bring down, so the answer is 98. And that's all you do. Okay, let's take a look add this one. This goes in and this goes out. Okay. So I'm going to build a house, put 3 out, and put 4,737 in the house. And I start off with 3 into 4. You just chunk it. But before you can do that, let's list some of these. Go to your 3s and list some of these, okay? So that's going to be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, blah, 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 okay? Now, how many groups of 3 can you get out of 4? So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. You can make one group, or you can just go here and say the closest you can get to 4 without going over is 3. That's only one time. So you put 1 there. The number you circle is what you subtract. Okay, I circle 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. After you subtract, you simply bring down. Always after you subtract, you bring down. Then you just repeat the process and see, well, how many groups of 3 can you get out of 17? So I go here and I say, well, the closest I can get to 17 without going over is right here, 15. If I go to 18, 18 is bigger than 17. That's too many. Well, that's how many groups of 3? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 groups. So the 5 goes above the 7. Okay. Once you figure out how many groups that is, you subtract the number you circle. I circle 15. 7 minus 5 is 2, and 1 minus 1 is 0. After you subtract, you always bring down. And then just repeat the process. Okay, now you're going to say, how many groups of 3 can I get out of 22? So if I had 22 students trying to make teams of 3, how many teams could I make? Well, the closest I get to 22 without going over is 21. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups. So the 7 goes above the 3. And I subtract the number I circle. 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. And then I bring down the 7. Okay, then I just repeat the process again. It's the same process repeated. And I look and I say, okay, how many groups of 3 can I get out of 17? So you just go to where you listed your numbers. And how far can you get to 17 without going over? Well, you can't circle 18 because that's over. So you're going to go back and circle. Sorry, guys. You're going to go back and circle 15. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 groups. Okay. I'm going to subtract 15. 7 minus 5 is 2, and 1 minus 1 is 0. But if you look, there's nothing left to bring down. So normally, in elementary school, we learn to write remainder of 2. I don't want you doing that once you get to 7th grade, okay? We're not going to do that anymore. We're either going to write a mixed number or we're either going to write a decimal, but we're not going to write remainder of anything. So if you choose to write it as a mixed number, let me tell you what to do. Because there's nothing left to bring down and you don't have a remainder of 0. And I want to write it as a mixed number. That's fine. Let me show you how to do that. This top number is like the big number, the whole number. Okay? So you're going to write 1,575. And then you have a fraction part. Your remainder of 2 is your numerator. So you put 2 there. Okay? And then the number you're dividing by is your denominator. So 1,575 and 2/3 is what it is as a mixed number. Now, I always tell my children you can remember the hands of a clock. Okay, and I'm just writing, like as far as the clock, you got your hands, but your hands, they tick this way. The hands of a clock tick in this direction. They call that clockwise, okay? So if you're writing this as a mixed number, you could start up here at the top, like the 12. Okay, and then you could just rotate around to the 2. There you go. And then rotate on around in a clockwise fashion to the 3. There you go. So when you get ready to write your mixed number, if you forget what goes where, just think about the hands of a clock, how they tick in this direction. They start at the top, and then it just ticks around clockwise, okay? Now, what do you do if you don't want to write it as a mixed number? Suppose you want to write it as a decimal. So if you want to write it as a decimal, it's very easy. The only thing you have to do, if there is a remainder with nothing left to bring down, you can simply add a decimal after that number, but you must bring it up. And then add a 0. That allows you to bring something else down. And you would just keep dividing. And the closest I can get to 20 without going over, and this is changing it to a decimal, guys, instead of a mixed number. The closest I can get to 20 without going over is this 18. And so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups. And I'm going to subtract 18 because that's what I circle. I'm going to have to borrow and add another 0 because you still don't have a remainder of 0. Then you just kind of say, oh, well, the closest I can get to 20 again is 6 times, and that's another 18. But if you should be able to tell that you're going to keep getting, even if you add another 0, you're going to keep getting a 6, okay? All right, so once this thing starts repeating, and you don't ever get a remainder of 0, what you do is you can write this down, a few sixes, and then dot, 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 or you can write it in bar notation. The bar goes over the digit that's repeating. So you only write that 6 once because that's the only thing that's repeating. And you put the bar over the 6. That bar over the 6 indicates that 6 keeps going, okay? But if you don't like writing it as a decimal, just stick with the mixed number. Okay, I'm going to do another one of those. So if you're confused, don't worry about it. All right, let me erase this and we'll get started. Okay, let's look at the other one. Okay, go ahead and write down this other one. All right, this one is in the house, and this one is out, okay? 9 into 4,117. 45,117. All right, I'm going to go to the nines and just list some of these nines. Skip count by nines, okay? 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72, blah, 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 blah. All right, so I start off with 9 into the first number. So I start off with 9 into 4. I only have 1, 2, 3, 4. Can I make a group of 9? Nope. So I put a 0. To put a 0, subtract. And then bring down. Now I do 9 into 45. So how close can I get to 45 without going over? Okay, exactly 45. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those groups. So put your 5 there and subtract the number you circled, which was 45. After you subtract, bring down. Now it's every time after you bring down, you start over. Repeat the process. How many groups of 9 can you get out of 1? Well, if you only have 1, can you get a group of 9? Nope. So put a 0. Now, anytime you put a 0, you subtract 0. And let's bring that down. Now you're going to repeat the process again. Now, how close can I get to 11 without going over? Well, I can go get to 9. 18 is over 11, so I don't want to do that. Well, if I only do get to 9, that's only one group of 9 out of 11. Okay, so I put a 1 there, and I subtract the 9. Okay, 11 minus 9 is 2, and then I can bring down the 7. Now, how close can I get to 27 without going over? Well, that's 1, 2, 3 groups. Subtract the number you circled, which is 27, and now I get a remainder of 0. So I don't have to worry about trying to write a mixed number or trying to change it to a decimal because I have a remainder of 0. So this answer is simply 5,013. Okay, let's look at some others. Okay, this goes in and this goes out. And keep in mind, you can always pause this video if I'm talking too fast. All right, so you're going to start off with your 11s. List some of these, okay? 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, 66, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to start off with, 11 go into 5. Can I get make a group of 11 out of 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope, can't get a group of 11. So put a 0. Anytime you write a 0, subtract 0. Now, repeat the process. Whenever time you bring down, repeat the process. How close can I get to 58 without going over? Well, that would be at 55. If I go to 66, 66 is higher than 58. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. So put the 5 above the 8, the number you brought down. Subtract the number you circled, which was 55. Now I'm going to subtract. 8 minus 5 is 3, and that's 0. Then I bring down the 9. Now, anytime you bring down, you just repeat the process. So now I'm going to do 11 into 39. Well, how close can I get to 39 without going over? So 33, that's 1, 2, 3. So put a 3 above the 9. And I subtract 33 because that's the number I circle. Well, 9 minus 3 is 6. 3 minus 3 is 0. And I bring down the 7. Now I got to repeat this process again. So I'm thinking, okay, how many groups of 11 can I get out of 67? Well, that would be 66. If I go to 77, that's over. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups. And I subtract the number I circle. Now I have a remainder of 1. I don't have anything over here to bring down. So I can just stop right here and write this as a mixed number. Or I can change it to a decimal. As a mixed number, it's 536. And just like the hands of a clock go this way, 1 is your remainder. That becomes your numerator over the number I was dividing by 11. So you can just stop right there and write it as a mixed number. If you don't like the mixed number, then don't write a mixed number. But if you don't write a mixed number, you need a decimal if you don't get a remainder of 0, okay? So let me show you. To make it a decimal, you would have to add a decimal, bring that decimal up, and add a 0. Adding that 0 allows you to have something else to bring down. But now then you can just kind of repeat the process. But if you only have 10, can you make a group of 11? Nope. So I would put a 0. And anytime you have a 0, you subtract 0. You can keep adding as many zeros as you want to until it repeats or terminates. All right, how close can I get to 100 without going over? Well, I got to keep listening some more. So that's 88, 99, 110. Okay, closest I can get is 99. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So subtract 99. Okay, add a 0. Now how close can you get to 10 without going over? Well, you can't make a group of 11 out of 10. So you put a 0. Anytime you put a 0, subtract 0. And you should see what's going to happen if you keep adding these zeros. You can get back to 9 groups. But if you look up here at the top, it's repeating 0, 9, 0, 9. So what you do as a decimal, you just stop 536.0909, blah, blah, blah. Or you can write bar notation, okay? Completely up to you. Just put the 0 and the 9 once and use bar notation. So if it doesn't give you a remainder of 0 and you have nothing left to bring down, either write the mixed number or you add a decimal and a 0 to keep dividing, okay? Let's take a look at 6. And I'm going to erase some of this stuff. because I don't like to see it all bunched up. For those of you who hate the division process, I would change. If I didn't get a remainder of 0, I would just leave mine as a mixed number, unless I specifically told you to write it as a decimal. All right, this goes in and this one goes out. 45,982. And I'm going to go to my 12s and just list some of these on the side, okay? 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, 84, 96, blah, blah, blah. And I'll start off with 12 into 4. Always the very first number. So if you only have 4, can you make a group of 12? The answer is no. Put a 0. Anytime you put a 0, subtract 0. Then you're just going to kind of go from there. How many groups of 12 could you get out of 45? Well, that's 1, 2, 3. 3 groups. And subtract the number you circle, which is 36. You're going to have to borrow. 15 minus 6 is 9, and 3 minus 3 is 0. After you subtract, you always bring down and repeat the process, guys. How close can you get to 99 without going over? Well, after that, 96 is 108. That's over, so go back to 96. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8. Subtract the number you circle. And then bring down. And you just repeat the same process again. How close can you get to 38 without going over? That's going to be back here at 36. That's 1, 2, 3 groups. Put your 3 there. Subtract the number you circle. And then bring down your 2. And you just repeat the process again. How close can you get to 22 without going over? Well, if you go to 24, that's over 22. So go back just one group, and that's 12. You're going to subtract the number you circled, which was 12. Now, keep in mind, I don't have anything else to bring down. So I can stop right there and write this as a mixed number. 3,831. And then 10 is your remainder. Put it as your numerator over 12, which is the number you're dividing by. You can just stop right there. Now, if you know how to simplify 10 12s, go ahead. But I'm not going to worry about simplifying right now, as long as we can get to that. Now, if you don't like the mixed number, you can also continue to write this as a decimal. Now, as a decimal, add a decimal and a 0, and that decimal needs to come up. Once you add a 0, that allows you to bring something else down. And then you just keep repeating the same process, okay? So how close can you get to 100 without going over? That would be back at 96. And that's 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you're going to have to borrow, add a 0, bring it down. How close can you get to 40 without going over? That would be 36, which is 3. And when you subtract, you're going to get another 4, add another 0, bring it down. How close can you get to 40 again? That'll be another 3. Okay, as you can see, these 3s are going to start repeating. So you could write 3,831 and the 8, and only the 3 is going to repeat. So only put the bar above the 3. Or you could write it like this. Just put a bunch of 3s behind it and put dot, 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 your ellipsis, okay? Again, if you don't like continuing to divide, don't change it to a decimal. Just write it as a mixed number. That's the shortest way. If you are going to change it to a decimal and you see that it's going to repeat some number in the quotient, which is the top up here, just stop. You don't have to keep dividing. Stop and just write that number in either bar notation or with the ellipsis, okay? A couple of those numbers in the ellipsis. Okay, pause the video. No, don't pause it because 15 isn't on my chart. Notice that the chart only goes to 12. So we're going to have to skip count on our own. All right, that goes in and that goes out. Skip count by 15. 15, if you add 15 to 15, you get 30. Add 15 to 30, you get 45. Add 15 to 45, you get 60. Add 15 to 60, you get 75. I'm just going to do a few of these. Add 15 to 75, you get 90. Okay, I'm just going to stop right there. Because again, 15 isn't on my multiplication chart. All right, so now I'm going to do 15 and the 8. Well, if you only got 8, can you get a group of 15? Oop, nope. Put a 0 and subtract 0, okay? Bring down to 7. And how many groups of 15 can you get out of 87? Well, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gonna subtract 75. I'm gonna have to keep going. All right. Because now it's how many groups of 15 can I get out of 120? So I gotta add 15. 5, 10, 105. Now add 15 to 105. 120. Okay. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 groups. And subtract 120. And bring down the 2. How many groups of 2 can you get out of 15? How many groups of 15 can you get out of 2? Well, you only got 2. Can you make a group of 15? Oop, no. Put a 0. You put a 0, subtract 0. I'm going to stop right now and write this as a mixed number because it's easy. So that would be 580. And then 2 is your remainder. It becomes your numerator. And then over 15, the number you're dividing by. I'm going to leave it just like that. Now, if you want to change it to a decimal, I've shown you how to do it. Then you go ahead and you add a decimal and a 0 and you just change it. And I can tell you what it is if you wanted to try it on your own. If you wanted to try it on your own, it's going to give you a bunch of 3s. They're going to repeat. Or you could write bar notation, just write 1 3 and use the bar over that number that's repeating. That's what you should end up with, okay? But again, you would have to add a decimal and a 0 and keep dividing. All right? That's if you want to change it. I would stop at the mixed number. All right. This goes in and this goes out. Oh, and we definitely don't have 36 on the chart. Got to do more adding to skip count. 14,598. So you start off with 36. And I'm going to go down here. 36 plus 36. 6 plus 6 is 12. Carry the 1. 72. All right, 72 plus 36. 8, 10, 108. All right, 108 plus 36. 8 plus 6 is 14. Carry the 1, 4. 144. Let's do 144 plus 36. I'm just skip counting by 36. 10. 5 plus 3 is 8. That's 180. I'm going to do one more. 180 plus 36. 216. Okay, that's enough for me right now. All right, so I'm going to start off with 36 into 1. Well, if I only have 1, can I get a group of 36? No. Subtract 0. Bring down to 14. Okay. If I have 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Can I get a group of 36? Nope. Add another 0. Subtract 0. Bring down to 5. All right, now how close can I get to 145 without going over? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a 4 there. Subtract the number you circle. Okay. And I'm going to erase some of this stuff down here, guys. All right, so after you subtract, you're always supposed to bring down. So I'm going to bring down the 9 and then repeat the process. So if I have 19, can I get a group of 36? Well, I only got 19 people. Can't make one group of 36. That's a no-no. Okay, subtract the 0. Bring down the 8. How close can you get to 198 without going over? That'd be 180. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 groups. And subtract. Okay, that's 18 as your remainder. I'm going to stop right now and write it as a mixed number. So as a mixed number, this is going to be 405. And then your remainder is 18. And the number you were dividing by is 36. Now, if you know how to simplify, it's going to simplify to 405 and 1/2. Okay? Now, if you want to change it to a decimal, go for it. But to change it to a decimal, I'm going to do this one. To change it to a decimal, instead of a mixed number, add a decimal and a 0. Bring that decimal straight up. Then it allows you to have something else to bring down. So bring down the 0. You're going to say, how many groups of 36 can you get out of 180? Well, that's exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Circle. I subtracted 180. I circle 180, so I subtract 180. Now I have a remainder of 0 and nothing left to bring down. So if I wanted to write this as a decimal, it's 405.5. Okay? And that's all I have for division. The division is a very long process.